here.
So
that's why we did. I didn't mean to.
Oh, I know that. I know
But
that.
if we had known,
Yes. And had I known, and I'll follow up with staff, had I had any idea that we had that many people lining up or here that were ahead of time, we would have been down here to make sure that there was a process in place.
So you said that you started a list.
I started the list because I felt there was likely to be so many people that the ordinary concept of forming a line and everyone knowing who they're after, et cetera, was not going to work very well. And the people that I spoke to who work in the building, I don't know what their connection is, both of them agreed with me and thought it was a good idea. Basically, as far as I can tell, everyone came in and signed the list except one or two people who possibly didn't see it. And the lady who didn't see it is going to be the first, because we, in view of the argument, we all said, okay, you go first. And she said, okay, and we all cheered.
Here's what happened to the best of my recall. When I arrived here, there were a group of 18 to 25 people in the lobby. Some of those people had been here since 1:45, ready to sign up at 4 o'clock. That group of people created an informal list. That was a list to help them so that they didn't have to stand in a line since 1:45. Some of the people coming in later got upset because there was a list going before they got here. And there were in particular 3 people who were very upset. The reason things got so contentious was because the explanation about when people were going to be able to speak was complicated by the fact that the City Council had moved public participation hearing, which evidently means matters not on the agenda, to the end of the meeting. So one of the 3 people was very upset because they wanted to sign up on the list, but actually the list has nothing to do with them. So the bottom line is that there was a large controversy going on, exacerbated by 3 people who were very upset. One of those people dropped out when they realized that they were fighting over an issue that was a non-issue because their public participation was going to be at the end of the meeting. Then the issue resolved down to 2 people who were very upset. One who was upset because he couldn't take off time from work to come here early to sign up and felt that he should have had an equal opportunity at 4. And the other one who felt she didn't know about the list, the informal list that had been written, and had lost her opportunity to take a turn in line. So things got contentious and heated, and the city clerk had to, or the woman representing the secretary had to go upstairs and get the secretary, and she had to come down and explain it, and people were raising voices, and there was a certain degree of shouting. There were some of us who were asking people to calm down and thinking that we could resolve it, and I think for the majority of people, they felt it could be resolved. It took some explaining, and the lack of clarity certainly made it more difficult, but ultimately, the concession was made that the individual who was so upset that she didn't know about the list, everyone just said, go first. And I don't know that that's a just reward for making a fuss to go first, but nonetheless, it was politic. And the second person to go was the person that was there at 1:45, and the truth of the matter is that everyone else pretty much fell in exactly where they would have with the informal list of people getting in line. And so the police showed up, but by the time they got here, things were pretty much under control and people had calmed down. Very contentious issue. I think they can expect more of this. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jeff Bennett, and I used to live right next door to one of the big spec homes that people have gotten very upset about here in Boulder, so I wanted to just give you my perspective on how those affect us. And I think as our case shows, we actually ended up deciding to move as a result of this, for lack of a better word, monstrosity that was built next to us. And I'm a big supporter of property rights, but I do think that we have to consider the neighbor's property rights as well as the builder's property rights. And in our case, this house covered the lot from the front setback all the way to the very back because of the garage, with essentially a 2-story wall running within 5 feet of the property line, so that it completely cut off all the southern views, both from our house and from our backyard. And it changed the feel of the property. Our house was still a nice place, it still did sell, but it probably sold for less money than it would have if that house had not been built next door to us. And it's a different character in our house than it would have been or had been before this new spec home was built. So I think we need to take into account the fact that neighborhoods have a certain feel to them, and we don't want people to just be able to change that feel at their neighbor's expense. So that's why I think we need to do something. I'm sure that the current plan is not perfect, but it's better than doing nothing, which will lead our neighborhoods to end up being destroyed from the character they now have.
You know, when
It's not like we're going to be wearing
I wasn't trying to insult you in any way.
It could make a nice nightshirt. There you go.
Hello, I'm Mark Yelban. I'm from Boulder, Colorado, and I'm a steering committee member of Leave My Home Alone, which you can find out about at leavemyhomealone.org. Basically, we're here to talk about what was originally called the Pops and Scrapes Ordinance, which has sort of transformed into compatible development, a kind of Orwellian name as far as we're concerned, because who doesn't want compatible development? But really what has happened is, from the very beginning, this has been a solution in search of a problem. These proposed regulations are too extreme, too onerous, and too complex. They're anti-family and unfair. They will disproportionately hurt the middle-income families in Boulder, people on smaller, irregular, sloped, narrow lots. The proposed regulations will undoubtedly have many unintended consequences, again, that are going to hurt middle-income families, families with young children, family in Martin Acres that just want to expand a 1950s ranch. And City Council, all throughout this process, has ignored the majority of Boulder citizens. From the get-go, the three most salient questions of the Norrie Winter Survey basically showed that a majority of Boulder citizens believe that new development was enhancing their neighborhood. We hope that you'll take the time to learn more about the issues and learn more about the ways this will adversely affect you and your family. Thank you.